0 and 8 November Tango for Pennine Ham Digital Radio Net. A very good evening to everyone, and a very good evening, or a very good afternoon to you, Bob, and maybe also hello to everyone on the YouTube channel. Beautiful weather here. We have 50 degrees Celsius, and we have a couple of very nice days here. Let's start with the net, and please keep 3 to 4 or 5 seconds between the overs, because that makes things better, and also give people to break anything they want. So first of all, G0 TVB, the group for an 8 November Tango, are you going to join the net poll? Nothing heard. Mike 7, Charlie Romeo Mike, from 8 November Tango in the group. G6, Uniform from 8 November Tango in the group. Are you going to join the net? Anyone on the repeated Golf Bravo 7 Hotel X-Ray who wants to join the net, please come in. Golf 4, Juliet Bravo Alpha Jim. Will you be taking part in the net tonight from 8 November Tango in the group? Nothing heard from Jim. So, Nick, you are the first one. Go for India Whiskey Oscar, the group 8 November Tango. Go ahead, Nick.
0 and 8 November Tango and the group from G4IWO. Good evening, Jeff, and good evening to those listening on YouTube, as well as everyone else here on the net this evening. I'll just start with a very quick weather update. We've still been having sunny weather this week, but it's been a lot cooler. So temperature today, I reached a peak of 17 degrees this afternoon, currently at 12 degrees. And there's been a northeasterly wind, which has been quite strong in gusts and has brought the temperature down as well. So that's probably typical for other people across the UK as well. We've had no rain though, which at least is a positive. And the fact the sun is shining is good in itself. I'll say more about it later, but I was very pleased indeed to see the posting by Lou G8KJJ, who's on tonight, about his inspiration from Hiroki with the Delta Loop antenna that he was using portable, and Lou has gone off and designed and built a 10-meter version of it. So it'd be interesting to just get a bit more flavour from Lou of how that's has worked out for him, and I'll add my own comments as well, having had a go at replicating Lou's design, although not quite, but actually already getting some reasonable results on it. So back to you, Jeff. 0 and 8 NT in the group from G4IWO.
The G4IWO 0 and 8 November Tango, and I have to apologize both Jeff Mike 0 AUG and also Mark and Adriana Delta Lima 8 ADT and Delta Lima 1 BJW. And Dave Golf 6 Sierra November. So those people apologize for that this evening, but we are still with quite nice groups. Okie doke. I fully agree with you, Nick. I think the article from Lou is very interesting. I think it's maybe something that could be publicized in Practical Wireless or so. It's very well made. The pictures are very interesting. So I hope to hear more about that. And we go to the Scottish borders, and I think Keith is back from the south of the UK. Golf Mike 4, Juliet Kilo Zulu, the group 08 November Tango.
November Tango with the group GM4JKZ. Yes, good evening, Jeff and one and all. And yeah, I'm back now after 3 weeks of hard graft, and looking forward to the rest and a little back recovery. Came back with a chronic back pain. I think that's just jumping up and down, laying flooring and building various bits of furniture. But we're 95% completed, and still more jobs lined up for me the next time I go down. So that's daughters for you. But yeah, she's got a very nice house down there, must admit. The weather down there, of course, is nice and sunny because she's got a Ring doorbell now, so we can keep a monitor of what's going on. But we've had it overcast here today. And like Nick, it's been a cool breeze from the northwest, and been watching the old Jets Commander bending slightly. I managed to get it put back up yesterday, and noticed the upper guys were a little bit loose, so tighten those up, and it looks a lot healthier now. Radio-wise, obviously nothing, but the good news is I have programmed all of my hotspots now with my daughter's Wi-Fi and password. So whichever one I take down there next time, I will be able to talk to you. So back to you, Jeff. 08 November Tango with the group GM4JKZ.
Roger, GM4JKZ, the group 08 November Tango, and welcome back in Scotland, so to say. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, I can imagine that, and especially if you are not used anymore to do these kind of jobs, that can be difficult. I think you didn't miss backgrounds on the radio, except from Tuesday evening. Yeah, Tuesday evening, I really enjoyed working Scotland on 70 centimeters and single sideband, and I worked at that same station again yesterday evening on FD8. On 70 centimeters, and after the contest from FD8, I went to 2 meters FD8, and I got Northern Ireland Golf India 6, I think Golf India 6 for Sierra November Alpha in Belfast. So really some good conditions there, and also on 6 meters, I see that there are some sporadic key on 6 meters, but I have a problem with my antenna that I have to sort out. To the States. November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, the group 08 November Tango. Go ahead, Bob.
08ND, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango. Good evening, good afternoon to everyone. The bands have changed dramatically in the last week or so. Most of my work, of course, has been on 20 meters, but there's a lot of QSB all of a sudden. You know, I'll have a station S9, and the next second I can't hear him, and then a few seconds later he's back up S9, back and forth. But still, and the bands have changed in another way too. I'm picking up more DX recently with good signals. As a matter of fact, in the last week I've worked 3 Barbados state parks, so I'm glad about that. Other than that, I worked a couple of the ARU stations up to last week, so the bands are definitely changing. And then I saw that note this morning. I guess on our net, where apparently there's a big solar flare that may be coming our way, but I really haven't looked into that yet. That's about it for this go-around, Jeff, and thanks for picking me up. ON8NT with the group, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango.
November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, the group 08 November Tango. Yeah, thank you very much for that, and I also had the experience that was sometimes very difficult to contact the stage. The stage were quite strong. Maybe these are the big guns, but me with my little pistol, it sometimes was very hard to make a QSO of the last past days on HF. Okay, though, lucky we have some other opportunities there with satellites and with 6 meters and VHF and so on. Okay, though, I see a station. I don't know, I think, but let's give them a chance to get in and present themselves. Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee, the group, over 8 November Tango. Go begin.
This is Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee. Thank you very much for bringing me in. Very good evening to you. Now, at this end is Rob, and we're located in a little town called Glossop, which is 12 miles east of Manchester. A friend gave me this XLX reflector and recommended that I listen, so that's what I'm doing. I don't have a D-Star radio at the moment. I'm using a blue DV pen drive on my laptop, so I don't know what the signal is going to be like, but I'm very grateful to you for bringing me in, and I'm enjoying listening to you net tonight. Back to you, Jeff. ON8 November Tango, Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee.
Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee, the good 4-8 November Tango. Thank you very much, Rob, and you are very welcome. Very nice to catch you for the first time. Maybe some people from the region here on the net will know you. I don't know. That could be possible. But anyway, I think it's the first time I make a QSO with you. And you are very welcome. We have a net here, 1930 British time here on this reflector. And you see, normally we have some more participants also from Germany and some more UK and Jeff, of course, like Zero AUG that you probably know, because he's from the Manchester area, I think from Oldham. And so you are very welcome, Rob. And nice to catch you. My name is Jeff, Juliet Echo Foxtrot, and I'm between Bruges and Ghent and Belgium, between Bruges and Ghent and Belgium. And very good that you are using 2DV on your computer. That's working excellent. Your modulation is very good. Very nice. Okido. And then we have Lou, Golf 8 Kilo Juliet. Congratulations on your article, Lou. I really found that very interesting. From ON8 November Tango in the group. Go ahead. ON8 November Tango and the group GAKJJ. Yes, good evening to everyone, and thank you for that, Jeff. The WX in Nottingham today has been cold with a cold wind, about 15 degrees Celsius. But it's not been as pleasant as we've had in the past few days. I've got a bit of a cold, so I may sound a bit strange. The HF band conditions have been poor over the last week, although improving in the last 2 days. And I did notice that 20 and 17 was quite active this evening. Did manage to work into JA on 17 and Bahrain on 20. But I'll give more on the other things a bit later. I'll pass it back to you, Jeff. ON8 November Tango GAKJJ. Okay, thank you, Lou. G8 Kilo Juliet, the group ON8 November Tango. And I think weather-wise, it's more or less the same here. It's at the moment, if I look at my computer screen, it's 15 degrees Celsius. And we have that same northwestern wind, which makes it a little bit chilly. And a whole difference with what we had during the last couple of days. I was in Brussels for a long weekend this weekend. And we really had very nice weather, so I really enjoyed that. We did a lot of eating and drinking outside on terraces and things like that. and visited some interesting places. So really enjoy that. Okay, so let's go to the second round. The G4 IWO, the group over 8 November Tango. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, and 8 November Tango and the group from G4IWO. Yeah, first of all, Jeff, a big welcome to Rob, also in the Pennines, of course, down there in Glossop, G6EOY. Delighted that you've joined us tonight. And I just had a quick look at your QRZ page, Rob, and saw that you've only fairly recently come back into the hobby in 2021. So a very different hobby as to how it was 20 or 30 years ago, that's for sure. But lots more opportunities, lots of amazing equipment, all the different modes that we've got to use, lots more things to play with, and still as enjoyable for me, Rob, as it probably was for you, starting as a younger person like myself in the hobby, nearly 60, well, over 60 years ago now, and it's still giving me a lot of pleasure. I'm Nick. I'm the chair of Pennine Ham, the radio club that is organising this net, and we run regular weekly meetings on Zoom, and actually once every 2 weeks. And our next meeting with the speaker is next week. And we've got Tim Kirby, GW4 VXE, who's going to come and talk to us about getting started with amateur radio satellites. So that should be a very, very interesting and worthwhile talk, especially for those of us that haven't really given the opportunity or had the opportunity yet to play with satellites. And to Lou, G8KJJ, yeah, Lou, as you know, I built a version of it with a very different angle. I already had one made up that was 90 degrees angle between the two whips, whereas EasyNet for you had shown the optimum was 42 degrees. And I was very pleased that it did actually radiate. And when I look at the reverse beacon network that I had for it on yesterday afternoon, I can see that my signal was being received over 900 miles away when I was running just 5 watts to the Delta Loop antenna for 10 meters, literally half a meter off the ground in my garden. So I think that was pretty impressive, and shows me there's an opportunity there. What I need to do is to get onto my workbench and take the bolts to pieces and change the angle. And I'm going to wire in as well an SO239 connector on the bottom of the antenna, so it's easy to put in whatever length of coax you want on the end of it back to your radio in whatever situation you are. What I'm hoping, Lou, is that it's an antenna that could be used portable, fairly low to the ground, but I think it's got. It strikes me that it could be a very, very useful portable antenna for 10 meters. Anyway, back to you, Jeff, and good evening, of course, back to Keith and also to Bob out there in New Jersey. Back to you, Jeff, ON8NT, G4IWO.
G4IWO, ON8 November Tango. Yeah, okay, interesting because I'm also playing with that antenna. I'm really about the results, and yeah, good tricky, I think, for having that as a portable antenna on your quota expeditions that you are doing there at the Pennines and surroundings. Very good. Okay, though, Keith, Golf Mike 4 Juliet Kilo Zulu, the group over 8 November Tango. Go ahead, Keith.
November Tango with the group GN4JK. Yeah, finally, Jeff, and nice night. So you were in have 15 or 16, so to speak. And yeah, G6EOI, Rob, good evening to you and welcome. I'm not sure whether it was you that I spoke to when I was travelling back up from Somerset. I was using some of the repeaters around the Midlands area, and I had quite a lengthy chat with one person about our reflector this evening, and they did say he would have a tune around and have a listen. But I may be wrong, but EOY tends to ring a bell. Back up on Saturday. But radio-wise, been a bit barren for the last 3 weeks, as you know. And also, I did send an email down to the Emporium down south about my FTDX 3000, which they've still got, and they're still scratching their head over. They've sent the problem out to their specialist, but nothing heard so far. So I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen on that score. So that's since the 28th of February they've had the radio. So struggling a bit with the 897D on receive audio only. No FT8 at all. To set that all up is going to be a bit tricky with the Western Mountain units. And also my daughter's using my workbench upstairs this week while she's just back with us for a week because her office is decimated and all of the desking and cabinets and what have you are now down in Somerset. So I can't go and work up there during the day. She's busy all day long. But there you go. So I'll just have the dinner in 2 minutes. Very nice. Thank you very much. So with that, Jeff, I'll put it back to you. By the way, Jim is probably at his G4JBA, probably at his engineering club tonight, so that may be why he's not around. That's been another great November Tango. Back to you, Jeff, from GM4JKZ in Orders.
GM4JKZ, near the border of Scotland there from Tango. Thank you very much indeed. And that's the life of a father, especially if you don't have I also have one, so I have also my part of this kind of situation. Okie doke. Back to Bob, November 4, X-ray Alpha Tango, and I saw that there is a museum ship weekend, so that's quite interesting. I think the ship you were used to go to will probably be active, and some others will also be active, I think. November 4, X-ray Alpha Tango, the group ONA November Tango.
November 8, November Tango. This is November 4, X-ray Alpha Tango. I'll miss this, Jack. Normally, I would be going to the and operate from U995, which is also going to be active, and the Cap San Diego will be active also. And I would be members of both of those crews, but normally during Museum Ships weekend, I leave the New Jersey, or I did leave the New Jersey, and I would go to the DOE and operate from the U995. And I certainly will miss that this year. I'm so happy, first of all, that I bought this IC705 a couple of years ago, and second of all, that I ran into Mark's on the air on Thursday. I had a loose leaf book because I have so many awards now from the Parks on the Air, they wouldn't fit in a little one I have. And that's full now, so I'll have to get a second one soon. The weather here has been like April weather instead of May weather. Currently, the temperatures is great. It's 71 Fahrenheit, about 21 C. That's 81% humidity, and it's rained almost every day. Today it is cloudy with on and off rain again. So it's more like April than like this time in May. I do have a question for Rob. I also, as Nick did, I looked at your QRZ page, Rob, and up on the shelf you have a beautiful receiver, but I couldn't figure out the make of it. I know that it's better than the one that I had back in the 50s. I had a Hammerlet, holocrafters I had holocrafters back in the 50s, and it was a bit smaller than that, but it had the same type of face on it with the different bands listed. And I'm curious, I tried to blow up that photo that you have on that QRZ, but I couldn't blow up the top of it just to read the name. So maybe you can tell us what the name of that is, Rob. My name is also Robert. I usually go by Roberto locally, or Bob, whatever. So that's it. And back to you, Jeff. ON8NT, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango.
Okay, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, the group. ON8 November Tango, coming back to you. Yeah, very interesting, Rob, and thank you. We're really looking forward to the museumship weekend. Very interesting, and I have exactly the same question to Rob about that beautiful receiver on the shelf there. That really sounds me about also, I think 50 or 60 years ago, when I was still a shortwave listener, I was like that in the window of a shop, and but at that time I could not afford that. I could not afford that. I was still, I was still a student, I think. So I'm also very curious, Rob, what that receiver is on your shelf. So G6 Echo Oscar Yankee, the group of an 8 November Tango. Go ahead, Rob.
Bravo 6 Echo Oscar Yankee. Thank you very much, Jeff. And for your information and Bob's information, the radio is an Eddystone EC10, made in 1966. And I remember being in my early teens, and that was the radio that I'd seen advertised in the magazines, and it was the one that I always wanted, but of course could never afford. And I came back into the hobby, as it says on the QRZ page, fairly recently. But before that, I was continuing to be a shortwave listener. And there's a guy who lives in Doncaster, which is just a little bit further north in the UK than I am here, for you guys in the States. And he runs a company called Past Times Radio. And he refurbishes and sells vintage radio sets. And this was advertised on his web page. And I thought, oh, it's something I've always wanted. And so I went across to visit him and bought it. He had to replace most of the transistors because they were old germanium PNP types, OC170 and 171, if anyone remembers those. And I seem to remember that they grow things called whiskers in the crystal, which reach out inside and touch the metal case and short out the transistor so it doesn't work. So he replaced them all with modern silicon equivalents, and it does work. It's not great, I have to say, but I keep it just as an ornament, really. It's a lovely looking radio, isn't it? I'm very, very proud of it. And I think it was Keith who asked when I was licensed. It was 1980, and things have changed very, very dramatically on this. It's been a very steep learning curve getting into all the digital modes, but I'm enjoying it very much indeed. And the weather here today has been fine. It's been sunny, but it's been rather cool. It's about 11 degrees at the moment. But we've had a very, very dry 3 weeks, I think. So, yeah. So back to you, Jeff. ON8 November Tango, Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee.
Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee, the group over 8 November Tango. Yeah, thank you very much for that information. I think that was very interesting. Of course, the famous brand Eddystone, which is a British brand. I'm quite sure about that. And I maybe it was the same model that I saw in the window of the shop when I was a young guy, each child, maybe 50 or 60 years old, something like that. Really fascinating. And very interesting the story you told me about, or you told others about the story behind that receiver that you have on your shelf. They're very nice. Okay, good. Lou, Wolf 8, Kilo Juliet, the group over 8 November Tango. ON 8 November Tango, Golf 8 Kilo Juliet, returning. Yeah, fine business, Jeff, and very good evening to Rob. And for the benefit of Rob, the Delta Loop we've been talking about, on the Pennine Ham Facebook page, you'll see a short article which sort of describes something about the antenna that we're talking about tonight, and you might like to have a look at that. It's not something that's new. There's been a lot of Delta loops built in the past, and Hiroki Kato gave a presentation a few weeks ago to the Pennine Ham group, and it was very, very interesting. And as a result of that, I built this Delta loop out of old seat. Well, they weren't old because I bought them new, but they're CB half-wave telescopic antennas, and I mounted those on a board and placed the telescopic antennas at an angle of 42 degrees, which I worked out from Easy Neck antenna modeling software, and spent a fair amount of time on the modeling software to determine the best. I wanted a low angle radiation, and so I found that the 42 degrees gave me a fairly good compromise. And as a result, tried that out. Obviously, it had a connection at the top of the width, which was a 3mm aluminium wire. I tried that out, and it did seem to perform reasonably well. But I've not given it a very, very good try out because 10 meters has not been particularly good over the last week. And the other reason, I've spent a lot of time with my wife ferrying backwards and forwards to medical services, doctors and so on. Not that we're particularly ill, but we seem to have arranged a lot of medical services in the last few days. As far as Nick's concerned, this antenna would probably make a great portable antenna. I find that this one that I've built will go up very quickly. I can collapse it down. It goes in the garage. I put it up when I think conditions are good. Sorry, I'll just take a bit. I think I've overrun that. Anyway, I'll pass it back and see if you're still copying, Jeff, from GAKJJ. Yeah, still copy. You can go on if you wish. Yeah, okay, Jeff. Yeah, as I was saying, it is very easy to put up and take down. And I think that maybe with a little bit of trimming, it might work out fairly well. And I'm very pleased with the results that I've had so far with it. I managed to contact a number of stations in the southern hemisphere, Brazil and Reunion Island and South Africa. On the first day it was tried, so that was good. Anyway, I'll answer any questions on the next round. So back to you, Jeff. ON 8 November Tango, GAKJJ. Okay, Roger Lou. Very interesting and very good idea about those CB antennas. which are cheap, and as you can say, you can telescoping them, so it's easy to make adjustments to them, and maybe you can adjust them to be active on 12 meters, who knows, on 24 megahertz. That might be possible, I think, if you that needs to be a little bit longer then. Yeah, it depends on, it depends, but maybe it's an idea, or on 6 meters. On 6 meters, that might be also an option if you can telescoping them, and maybe with another wire of another length at the top. That's maybe a scenario that can be tried out. Okie doke, I put it back to Nick. Call for India Whiskey Oscar over 8 November Tango.
08 November 08 NT. This is Golf 4 India Whiskey Oscar. Yeah, thank you very much, Jeff. And fascinating, Rob, to be taken back to the early 70s, late 60s. I remember, just like everyone else in this room here tonight, remembers looking in a shop window in the Edgware Road at one of the Edison EC10s, really wanting to have one of those myself, but obviously could not afford it. I just left home. I had gone to university, and there was no prospect whatsoever. So I ended up building myself a small receiver, but I didn't actually get back into the hobby again, really, until I dropped out from about the age of 15 or 16 through to about 24. And although I had a receiver and I'd built a transmitter, I didn't get involved in the hobby really until that time, 76, 77. And everything was just too expensive. The other radio I really wanted was the KW2000B transceiver. And that came out in the 60s and early 70s. All band, all mode transceiver, 180 watts output. And I can remember going to one of the guys in our radio club's house where he had one of these, and I just thought this was just incredible. So we've got many more opportunities nowadays. Some of them, of course, still very expensive, but lots and lots of more moderate opportunities now to get involved with the hobby, which is fantastic. And yeah, Louis is right about the Delta Loop. I think it's going to make a very good portable antenna. I've been using the AliExpress whip antennas, the 5.5 meter antennas that we bought from AliExpress, which are very lightweight. So I've used those, 2 of those, and making my adjusting the lengths to try and get the best SWR on the loop when in operation. I didn't manage to get mine below 1.9, but I'm hopeful that when I change the gap between the 2 of them, reduce the angle from 90 degrees between the 2 whips down to something more like 45 degrees, that will distinctly improve the SWR. And I think especially for portable work and possibly also for limited locations, a 6 meter version of the whip would be pretty good as well. And following, just scaling the dimensions, there's no reason why a 6 meter whip would not work. And of course, we're going into the opportunities now for a DX on 6 meters. So yeah, I've been on the radio a few times, not that often this week, but CW on 20 meters and a bit of sideband actually as well. What struck me about it was, as always, and we always say this, don't we, on radio, that even if you don't really hear anyone around and you've tried calling people and not being heard, it's definitely worth putting out CQ calls. So when I did that on Monday night, for example, I worked a bunch of European stations, and then suddenly was very surprised to be working into Thailand on Monday night around about 1900 UTC, about 8 p.m. here. A very strong signal he was, and he gave me a very good signal report as well. And later on that evening, I was called by a WB6 as well, who was also a good solid signal. And I think a couple of days earlier on the on the Saturday, I'd gone on to 20 meters sideband. I think I'd been chasing Ken, who was on 40 meters, and then went up to 20. And I put out a CQ call to be worked by a VU3 in India. So, you know, the DX is out there, even if the conditions have not been as good as they were. We're definitely, you know, not in the peak conditions we had a few weeks ago, but I'm certain they're going to come back again. So don't give up is the motto, and keep on calling CQ. You never know who's going to come back. So back to you, Jeff. ON8NT G4IWO.
Okay, Nick, call for India Whiskey Oscar. ON8 November Tango. Thank you very much for your report on the things that you worked. Very, very fascinating, and you are absolutely right. The bands could look quiet, but from time to time you get some nice surprises. That's absolutely true. And thank you very much for the walk through the memory lane of old radios and things like that. Yeah, I had more or less the same experiences, Dick. So I think we are more or less of the same age group, so that's probably the reason why. And we go to Scotland. Golf Mike 4, Juliet Kilo Zulu, the group of 8 November Tango.
8 November Tango in the group, GM4JKZ, yes, and the same vintage as well. My first HF was KW2000A, which worked a treat. One of my first contacts was down into the South Atlantic I'm pretty sure it must have been Bill that I worked on VP8, which was pretty good, but that was back in the early 70s. That would have been, no, 10 and mid 70s. EC10, lovely radio. Yes, I used to drool over one picture of that as well. And the OC71s, well, I remember them well. I've still got some, believe it or not, upstairs in the drawer. And I remember scratching the black paint off to turn them into opto devices. Great fun. But, well, that was a long time ago. Yeah, interested in the Delta Loop. I must admit, I've not been in the loop, so to speak, recently. I've had a quick look on WhatsApp, but in the last 3 weeks, I've been working as many hours as God gave me, sorting things out for Rebecca. But yeah, I can sit back and relax now and have a read through all of our communications as such. The only station that I have worked since I've been back was last night. It was OQ100U, which is the Belgian Radio Society station, which was a nice 5.9 signal on the 40 meters. So pleased with that. And apart from that, just enjoying listening on through the hotspot again, as not being able to go and sit upstairs during the day. Just for your info, the 5100 is now plumbed back into the car, so no picture from me tonight, unfortunately. But it was working well, I must admit, on the journey up and down the motorway. And for those Volvo owners amongst us, my V70, would you believe, was returning 48.9 miles to the gallon. So quite staggered about that, but motorway driving helps, of course, but never had that sort of feedback. So it obviously enjoyed the service before it did the long journey. So with that, I'll put it back to you, Jeff. I'm 8 November Tango with the group GM4JKZ.
Okay, GM4JKZ, 08 November Tango. Thank you very much for this again. And very interesting also about your old receivers you had there. I think one of the receivers I had was a Racal RA17L, I think, with the VLF converter, also British brand, very good receiver. So this was one of the receivers I got through people that I know with the maritime station here and hosted radio. So I got I got one which was, end of life, so to say. We put some new valves in it, or some new tubes in it, and it was still working like a treat, so really enjoyed that. Okay, no, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, the group, go ahead, November Tango. Go ahead, Bob.
November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango. I'm trying to think back. I believe that the first actual nice shortwave radio that I had was an S39B Holocrafters. That had to be sometime in the early 50s. When I went to Turkey in 1957 or 58, I had a Holocrafters S1, which I took with me. And some of those old receivers were really nice. And I also started out as a shortwave listener before that, during the World War II. Of course, I would listen to a lot of the bands to see what kind of propaganda was out there, and there was. And there were some strange signals. And I think that those strange signals is what got me interested in ham radio. Of course, with the Navy for 3 years, I did quite a bit of radio with the Navy. I was an amateur before, and I did get to operate from a few places overseas. I never got to operate from Thailand. I was in Thailand, up in northern Thailand, but I did get to operate from there. More recently, I've done a little more SSB than usual. I guess Ken got me started. Ken keeps putting out these notices on WhatsApp that he's on a certain frequency, and I'll go to that frequency and I'll sit there hoping to hear him. Well, I haven't. But then on the other hand, I thought, what the heck? I'm up over 2,200 parts a year now. Maybe if I go to SSB, I can pick up a few more, and I have. So I've been playing a little more SSB recently, primarily for Parks on the Air, and I have picked up a few that way. This past weekend was the anniversary of the Hamburg port. And because of that, I had a big celebration all weekend and all kinds of ships. Well, I have friends in Hamburg. I got over close to 200 photos of ships out at sea. And of course, one of them, of course, was Camp San Diego, which of course really interests me. But I guess on this D-Star group on Thursday evenings for the next couple of years, I don't have to worry about photos of ships because I have them. And as a matter of fact, tonight I will send one. Keith, sorry to hear that you won't have one, but I found another one, and I know that I've sent to Camp San Diego before, but this is from a different angle. So I'll probably use that photo this evening. Let's see, do I have anything else written down? Helicopters, Can, the photos, the SSB. As of yesterday, I had 2,259 different parks, and there goes thunder, so that could affect me here. So I'll sign now, but I am standing by. If this storm goes through, I'll send a picture at the end when you tell me, Jeff. ON8NT, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango.
November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, ON8 November Tango. Yeah, okay. We will send, Keith will not send the picture, but you will do and I will do. So Rob, we have tradition that we have some pictures that we send over D-Star. I think you need a D-Star radio, and you would not be able to receive them through the Blue TV, I think. But you probably, if you look now or tomorrow or something on the YouTube recording which is made by Dick, which will be posted on our YouTube channel from the Pennine Ham Club, you will probably be able to see how that works and see the pictures that we have sent this evening. So yeah, and okay, Bob, interesting about the Hollycrafter. also a iconic radio. And just like you and like Rob and so many, I like Nick, I started as a shortwave listener. And very shortly, I was interested in really in RTTY because you have these press agencies, which of course, just like Bob said, was pure propaganda in most cases. But anyway, it was good fun to see the messages going down on paper on my old Siemens teletype machine, which was weighing 50 kilo, and my receiver, my Rakal, was weighing 50 kilos. So can you imagine now if you see the small transceivers that we are using? Okay, no. Back to Europe. Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee, the group over there, November Tango.
November Tango, G60, thanks, Jeff. Finding this very, very interesting. I think this is only perhaps the third venture I've made onto D-Star. I do quite a bit of fusion and a bit of DNR, and I use All-Star as well. But this is certainly about the third time I've actually had a QSO on D-Star, so finding it very interesting. And the picture sharing facility sounds most interesting. We'll be able to swap pictures and learn a little bit more about people's situation and the things that they're interested in. That sounds really good. And I will look at the YouTube channel and also the Facebook page. Thank you. Be very interested in that Delta loop. I don't do very much in the way of HF here. I have a Yaesu FD847, but we don't have very much in the way of HF antennas. I've got a 40-meter dipole in the loft, which is bent into the shape of a square, which doesn't quite meet in the middle, and is fed in the middle at the other end, if you can visualize that. It does work, but it's not terrific. I find I do most of my operating on these modes, and really do enjoy it, I have to say. The first shortwave radio I had was a kit, and it was a Kodar mini clipper, which was a one-valve regenerative radio. And the thing I remember most about that was that I listened in to the Voice of America on the night of the moon landings, and I heard Neil Armstrong make his famous statement when he stepped onto the moon on that radio. And it was the middle of the night, and I think it was the first time that I'd ever stayed up all night. So, great memories of a very enjoyable little radio. And my foray into amateur radio came shortly afterwards, when I made a small transistorized radio. It had a ferrite rod antenna. It was meant to be medium wave, but I didn't quite wind up the turns on the coil. And so instead of tuning just medium wave, it actually went down to 160 meters. And, there was a local net on top band at the time in the afternoon on AM, and that was how I first heard amateur radio and fell in love with it. So it's marvelous what you hear, isn't it? Even by accident. Oman 8 November Tango, Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee.
Yeah, Rob. G6 Echo Oscar Yankee, the group 08 November Tango. That's absolutely true. The things that you can hear unexpectedly is sometimes really fascinating. I remember that I have also listened to some broadcasts which were absolutely interesting. But although I didn't hear what you have heard there on the moon landing, that's absolutely great. And okay, about HF activity on your side, well, on my side, I do a lot of HF, but all with Ampro antennas on the balcony, so that's possible each side. And we have one of our members, actually, he is not active here on the digital net. He is more an HF man that can go for Victor Zulu Victor. Is sometimes pedestrian mobile near the sea, in the salt water, is very active, and I think quite a lot of people here on the net and from the club are trying to chasing him, which is always good fun, I think. Very often 40 meters. And he is always, or he is sometimes from time to time going to Spain. He has a little house in Spain. And then he is active as Equa Alpha 5-stroke ball for Victor Zulu Victor. So then we try to work him from Spain, which is normally on 20 meters or on 17 meters, which is also good fun to have talk with Ken from Spain. So and he is experimenting there also with his trolley, with the transceiver and the antenna near the salt water there. So it's been good fun. Okay, over. Now let's go to P8 Kilo Juliet Juliet Blue, the group of 8 November Tango. November 8, ON8 November Tango G8 KJJ. Yeah, fine business, Jeff, and I think you're right. It will definitely tune 6 meters, the delta loop, and by extending the telescopic width, you could get it down to 12 meters probably, because the CB antennas, I think they're 5.3 meters long. And Keith, I haven't put the article on WhatsApp as yet, but it is on Facebook, and I will at some point put it on WhatsApp, but I'm not set up for that yet. As regards the angle of the, I think the angle of the loop, I think if you increase the angle, I think the SWR goes up. So if you decrease it to about 45 degrees, Nick, I think it might bring the SWR down to a more reasonable level. And as regards early radios, my first RX was an R107, which was an old wartime tank receiver, and I used that as a shortwave listener for quite some time. And I did hear the Sputnik, the first Sputnik, on I think it was 19.99 megahertz, and I did also have a command receiver. I don't really remember that one. It was an American American receiver. That's transmitter as well, but they were separate units. And the TX had a very nice rolling tuner, which was very, very nice built. But they were my first sort of forays into amateur radio when I was at Iran and going to the local amateur radio station. Anyway, back to you, Jeff, from G8KJJ. G8KJJ, the group of an 8 November Tango. Yeah, okay, Lou. Well, actually, Nick Golf for India Whiskey Oscar put your article on the WhatsApp group, so we have it already. We have it already on the WhatsApp. So Nick did that, which was very interesting, because it was so interesting to share that he just put it on the WhatsApp group. So yeah, good fun. And okay, about your R107 Army receiver. Yeah, we had in those times when I was a young guy, we had those shops here in the city of Ghent, which is very near to me. I think we had 3 shops. American, they call them American shops, and they had all these old Army receivers and transceivers and tuners and whatever. It was like a paradise. So yeah, very interesting. Okay, no, I think we could go to the last overs and make our finals, and I will skip Nick to come back as the last before we send pictures. So I go to Pete and the Scottish borders there for your final, Pete, and so you will have no pictures, no problem at all. I think Bob and I will do the honors this time. Golf more Victor Juliet Kilo, Golf Mike for Juliet Kilo, Zoom, Grupo en November. Thank you. Go ahead, Keith.
November Tango, GM4JK to the final yet, Jeff. And first of all, congratulations, Bob, on your 2,259 contacts. Slowly, you'll soon be up to 3,000, I reckon, if you start with sideband. So, yeah, well done on that score. And Lou, believe it or not, when I was 13, I got myself an R107 as well that I stuck in the corner of my bedroom. So, I think I was 13 or 14 at the time. Yeah, know that little radio well. And I think I used number 19 set band supply modified to feed the necessary voltage. But yeah, the good old days, 50 years ago at least. Say no more. And I think I'm going to have to bring the C100 back into the shack for next week. I will get a picture with withdrawal symptoms, probably. So I'll have to unbolt it and drag it in. But at least I've now got a small little hotspot which is plugged into the car as well. So I don't need to keep dragging money in and out, so to speak. I can make it handheld. So with that, I will say a very good night to everyone before my battery goes. And cracking net tonight. Small but very informative. And thanks to one and all. Back to you, Jeff. 08 November Tango with the group from GM4JKZ. 730.
Okay, Keith, thank you very much for your participation. Very nice to have you back. We missed you 2 or 3 weeks, so it's good to have you back, Keith. Okie doke. November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, go ahead, Bob, for your final comments. And after the net, I give you the chance to send a picture. November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, the group with a November Tango.
November Tango, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango with your group. First of all, Pete, as of yesterday, I don't have the total score for today, but as of yesterday, I was 1,152 out of 474, 872 point hunters, and that puts me 0.024 percentage-wise in the list, and I just can't. Usually I stick right around that point. As a matter of fact, 0.024 is probably the lowest I've been. I usually have around 0.026. It's surprising how many hunters have tens of thousands of marks where, I'm still working on like you say, 3,000. And maybe going to USB, I'll be able to do that. Also, I was stationed in Cyprus in July of 1969 when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, and I was lucky. It's one that I'll never forget. After all these years, that one where Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon, I'll never forget that. That was quite an event. Tonight, like I said earlier, my picture will be the Cap San Diego from an angle that I hadn't seen before. So whenever it comes back to me to send the photo, that's what you'll see. Back to you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, for running the net. You do an excellent job. Line 8NP, November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango.
November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, the group with 8 November Tango. Thank you very much, Bob, for your statistics on FIFA. Very good, congratulations. I think I still have something like 60 contacts. Although I got the diamond hunter, so I got 5, but anyway, I got 4 or 5 awards with 60 contacts. Yeah, very interesting, Bob. And also, I remember those things about the moon. I was also very interested in that kind of things and astronomy and things with the stars and yeah, and going to the moon and things like that. So I always had such an interest. Thank you very much, Bob, for your contribution. And I hope to catch you again next week. And of course, your picture is coming after the net. And I give the microphone to Rob, G6 Echo Oscar Yankee, for your final, Rob. The group over 8 November Tango. Go ahead, Rob.
Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee returning. Thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you everyone for making me so welcome this evening. I will certainly make a point of trying to join you as often as I can in the future. I've just looked at my diary, and unfortunately next Thursday I have a meeting, so I won't be able to join you, but I'll certainly try my best to be able to do so in future. I've really enjoyed the net, and yeah, it's something I will have to look into a little more closer, I think. I think a D-Star radio might well be my next purchase. It'd be lovely to be able to share photographs with you in the way that you describe. And thank you for all the information. It's been most interesting indeed. So I'll say 73 and hopefully speak to you all again in a couple of weeks. 08 November Tango, Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee, 73.
Golf 6 Echo Oscar Yankee, the group over 8 November Tango. Well, it was very nice to make your acquaintance, Rob. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, very interesting contributions also that you deliver here. So I really hope that we will catch you again on maybe not next week because you have another appointment, but maybe in the weeks after that. And you are absolutely very welcome both to the net as to our Zoom sessions. And you can also join our WhatsApp group, which is also quite interesting. So absolutely welcome, no problem at all. I think we are an open group, so no issues whatsoever. Oh, I go to Lou. Lou, go ahead. G8KJJ for your final from 08 November Tango in the group. November Tango in the group, KJJ. Yes, okay, Jeff, that's good. And thanks for putting the Delta Loop posting on WhatsApp. That's good that that's been done. As regards the R107, just a further point about it, it costs 30 shillings, I think, £1.50, and I think that included delivery. So a little bit different from the cost that we're paying for radios today. But anyway, it's been a wonderful net this evening. I've really enjoyed it, and even though I've got a cold, and I hope to be back next week with you to discuss other things. Anyway, 73s to everyone. 73s, Jeff, thanks for hosting the net. You've done a magnificent job. ON 8 November Tango and the group G8KJJ. G8KJJ. Nothing heard from Alpha Chef Juliet Charlie is probably listening, and that's also good. He's right. Okay, back to you, Dick, for your final words. Go for India Whiskey Oscar, the group. 08 November Tango. Go ahead, Dick.
08 November Tango and the group from G4IWO. Yeah, it's been a really interesting net tonight. Very enjoyable and a pleasure as well to have Rob G6EOY join us. Rob, I tell you what, you'll be interested in the speaker we've got, not next week at the Radio Club. Our meetings are on Wednesday nights. They're open to everyone. You don't have to be a member to come along. But next week's meeting is on amateur radio satellites for beginners, essentially, how to do it. And the following week, on the 28th of May, Wednesday 28th, we have another speaker from the US talking about his design of a wire beam antenna for 2015 and 10 built as a square. So it's a series of square loops. So a bit like the spider beam and the hex beam, but as a square antenna. And it struck me when you were talking that is even an antenna that would go into your loft, my guess is. So that might be one that might appeal to you, Rob. So yeah, good net, and very, very good to meet people tonight. 73s to you, and catch you at next week's meeting on Wednesday night, and of course at the digital net. This is, and a good evening as well to all those who've been watching us live on YouTube, and of course those who catch up on the net later in the week. 73s to you as well. This is G4IWO passing the microphone back to Jeff ON8NT.
Okay, Nick, go for India Whiskey Oscar 08 November Tango, and thank you very much for your contributions, Nick. Very interesting. And we had a good net, I think, small in participation, not that much participation as the other times, because both Mike and Adriana and Jeff and David have apologies. So, but nevertheless, we had a very interesting net, and we went down to the memory lane. That's also something which is very interesting to exchange IDs and so on. Okay, so hopefully next week we will have Jeff again, and maybe Mike and Adriana and Dave, and we will have a bigger net that time. So I give the microphone back to Bob for your picture. November 4, X-Ray Alpha Tango, the group. 08 November Tango. Go ahead with your picture, Bob.